Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to do a review video. I love doing review videos because I love sharing product information with you guys. Whether it's a new product to me or to you, it's so much fun. This product is brand new to me. I have never tried it before. It is a chalk style paint. It is made by Retique It by Renaissance. And I've seen this around a little bit and I thought, you know what, it's time I try it out. So I ordered some up. I do not have a retailer in my area, but I ordered some up. And the cool part is I was able to order on my ultimate favorite site, Amazon, which is so cool because I got it in one day, which was really nice, kind of a bonus. Anyway, I'm gonna share all the good things with you guys about this. We'll go ahead and put this down on a board with my typical review tools that I use in all of my videos, which is basically just a primed 12-inch board. I get them from the hardware store. And then my Klingon F50 brush. I use the same tools all the time in all my review videos because that way when something maybe doesn't seem right, I know it's not the tools. So by keeping those consistent, I'm truly giving the product the opportunity to show me what it's all about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get this on the board. We'll talk about the paint while I'm putting it on. And then at the end, I'll go ahead and tell you all the things about the paint. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we are ready. We've got our paint, our practice board as usual, and our Klingon F50, the same brush I always use for all my review videos. This is the paint here. It is in the color Old Linen. I have not opened it yet, so I am excited to open it up and check out the color. I ordered this color because should I like the paint, I want to be able to use it, and so I don't paint a lot of bold colors unless it's a custom job. So I really like neutrals, and I thought this would be a pretty neutral. It does say on the can, shake well. I have already done that. So we'll see what the consistency is like when I open up the can, because I may want to also stir it very well. And it is exactly like I thought it would be. This is the color. It's called Old Linen. It does resemble a linen color. So I hope that it shows up well on our practice board here. I will do some close-ups so that you guys can really see how it looks up close. But we're just gonna go ahead and dive in. My Klingon brush is a little damp. I do store them in water, and I do find that a damp brush allows for really, really good application. So I did not put enough on my brush, so I'm gonna go ahead and load up this brush and get it on. It does show up on camera. Excuse the mosquitoes. They are crazy rampant right now in our area. Even though it's cold, they are out like crazy. So anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and load up our brush. I didn't have enough on there because I could feel like it wasn't going to spread around very well. And I totally forgot to put on my gloves today. I just was ready to dive in and get this started. So let's see how easy the cleanup is after I'm done here with this. So it seems to be going on pretty well. Like I said, it is chilly this morning. I do have a heater in my workshop to help with that, but it is chilly. I find that when it's cold outside, obviously the paint goes on just a little bit easier because you don't have that issue of it drying too fast with the outside climate being too warm. So I'm gonna stop because I kind of feel like I don't want to say it's dragging, but I feel like I'm overworking it at this point. I've got the board pretty much covered, so we're gonna stop right now. We're gonna let this set up and dry. The typical dry time for this, first of all, it says that 1 to 2 coats for full coverage. I'm gonna make the assumption that it's gonna be 2 coats because most paints are 2 coats. When you're going light on light like this, you may not see that as much, but we are definitely gonna do 2 coats because I just recommend that. And we're gonna go ahead and let this dry. The dry time is 60 minutes in between coats, it says. So we'll go ahead. It is a small board, and normally things like this dry faster, but with the climate today, I will give it the full hour, although I'll keep an eye on it to let you guys know when it looks like it's drying, and then we'll go ahead and add our second coat. Okay, Okay, so this is after the first coat. It did dry in about 45 minutes. I went ahead though and just waited the full hour, like they said, but I could tell it was pretty dry in 45 minutes. I did go ahead and sand this with a fine grit sandpaper, only because I had some like fabric that got in there, some fibers. Not fabric, fibers from fabric. Anyway, and then there was some like ridging in this area, and I think that was more the board itself than anything else. So I did go ahead and sand it, which is always an option. I would use an extra fine grit sandpaper. I used 400 for this. That's what I normally use in between coats. So it did not need it for the feel or texture. It was rather smooth for chalk paint, which I would almost compare the way that this felt to my acrylic milk paint that I use. It was really very smooth. It is extremely matte, so you can see that. But let's go ahead and get our second coat down on this board. I did make a little bit of a mess on myself. It did wash off really easy. So I normally do wear gloves, but I kind of forgot to put them on, and we're just gonna go with it. So I am gonna go ahead. I do not wet or dampen my brush. I had this wrapped up in some plastic wrap while we were drying, and now we're going to go ahead and apply the second coat. What I did notice is I did load up pretty heavy on my brush. That's pretty heavy. It's almost ready to kind of drip off, but I did do that so that I got enough on there. Now I will say, and this is traditional with chalk paint, it does feel, and you can kind of see the texture. Look in this area here. It does feel like it has a drag to it. That is not this brand in particular. That is most chalk paints. It's just that it's the way that the makeup of the paint is, that they don't glide as smooth as maybe some of the mineral or milk paints. Some of the paints that have top coats built in tend to have a little bit more glide and travel along the piece a little bit easier. Therefore, you don't want to work this too terribly much, or you're going to end up with, no matter what kind of brush you have or pressure you apply, you will end up with brush strokes. So, you know, you just have to know kind of when to walk away. We're going to go ahead and walk away now. So I've got enough paint on that covered the piece. I don't want to overwork it. I only went over it 2 or 3 times. I could tell instantly after the first coat that it had that drag to it. But again, it's the formula. It doesn't necessarily mean it's this particular paint. I have used many chalk paints and they all have that same effect. So a couple of things you can do. You can walk away and stop. You can come back if you don't like the coverage and add a third coat. You can dip your brush in water. You can have a spray bottle with water. The water will help it glide a little bit easier. For this video, being that I'm doing a review, I don't typically like to do that because I really want the true effect of how, and I want to share that with you, of how this paint is applied, first coat, second coat, things like that. So, but those are some tips that you can use for when you are working with chalk paints in particular. So we're going to go ahead and let this one set, and I will come back and we'll show you the final result. I will say I really do like the color. They did give me a color card when I ordered. I'll show that to you guys in the next segment. They do have a lot of colors, and we'll go over all the particulars with the paint line itself. Okay. I do want to mention, while it is drying, I just cleaned my brush with simply water. That is it. I didn't use any brush cleaner. So cleanup on this paint, really, really good. Water, done.
All right, guys, that is it. We are at the end of the video, so let's go ahead and recap. So first off, let's talk about sizes. So it comes in 2 sizes. This size, which is the pint, and that was $21.99, and then it comes in a quart size. Now, the pint size, I would tell you, is going to be enough to do like a 6 to 9 drawer dresser, no problem. The coverage on this paint was pretty darn good. Now, it did say on the can 1 to 2 coats, and let me tell you, I've never actually had a paint that has covered in 1 coat. So kind of assume you're looking at 2 coats, if not more. And I say that because certain colors are going to have better coverage than others. But I did find that 2 coats of this color was just fine. So it gave me all the coverage I needed. So that was really good. It is a 0 VOC paint. I know that is a concern for some people because if you work indoors, maybe not an exterior shop or extremely well ventilated, you want to have a paint that doesn't have a heavy odor. This had none. I literally put my nose down in the can and there is no smell to it, which is really nice and refreshing for those of you that have an indoor space that you have to work in. So that's something that you don't need to worry about with this paint. As far as the consistency goes, that will change also with color. This particular color being a lighter color, I did notice it was a little thicker. So, and that's very common with light colors because light colors use a different base than dark colors do. So you might see that, change in consistency between colors. For this one, I didn't feel like I needed to thin it out or anything, but it was a little bit thicker. They do advise to shake well. I did shake it, I did stir it, all the things to make sure that I had everything mixed together for the optimal finish. So I really enjoyed working with the paint. The first coat went down, traditionally they go down pretty well. I have really yet to run into a paint where I put the first coat down and had issues with it. Typically where you run into maybe some differences are on that second coat because now your piece has something on it where that second coat is going to go ahead and start to grab to it. So it changes a little bit. I did notice with the second coat that there was a little traditional chalk paint style pull, and I say traditional because it's not uncommon with chalk paints that are more matte and their formula being a chalky style paint, no top coat in it, and it's just a little bit of a different formula, sometimes tend to have that pull or that drag. So there's a couple of things that you can do to remedy that. I did not do it here in the video because I wanted to really get a true feel for the paint without that assistance. But let me tell you, there's a couple tips. You can do a cup of water and dip your brush in as you go. You can have a spray bottle on hand and spray your piece directly, or you can start with a damp brush as well. So those are some tips to help you avoid that pull or that drag if that's what you're experiencing. It wasn't horrible. I was able to get that second coat on just fine. The key with that is just knowing when to stop and walk away. Sometimes we overwork our pieces and that's when we start to alter the finish a little bit. So the other thing I did was I sanded in between coats, which is absolutely not necessary. I wanted to do it because I had some fibers that got into on the board, and there was a little bit of ridges, which I figured out was my actual practice board. So anyway, you can definitely sand this in between coats if you would like to, but I will tell you that the finish is very smooth. For a chalk paint, I was kind of impressed because I've worked with a lot of different chalk paints and they have that traditional chalky finish. I won't say it's rough, but maybe a little grit feel to it, and very matte. For a chalky style paint, this was very smooth. So I really didn't see a need to sand it in between coats, like I said, unless you got something in it, and then you can go ahead and do so. I sanded with 400 grit. I do suggest using a very fine sandpaper for doing a finished sandpaper for doing that if you're going to go ahead. So this paint needs to be sealed. Okay, it does not have a top coat or a sealer in it, so you're going to want to also invest in that if you go ahead and decide to try this paint out. Now, you can use a wax as your top coat, or you can use a water-based top coat of your choice. If you like the matte finish, then stick with a matte top coat. You don't have to go shiny. Some people really enjoy that matte finish, and I actually really liked this one. So let me show you the board up close so you guys can see what I'm talking about. The color choice was really good as far as me finding it online and ordering it. Sometimes you can get kind of fooled and think that was not at all the color I wanted. That wasn't the case. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. So here is I'm going to tip it this way so I'm not catching all the light on it and you guys just get blinded. But it came out very nice. I'll show you up close so you can see the finish. The coverage was really good. Very, very smooth. I have not top coated this yet, but I will just for fun. I'm probably just going to use a wax just to top coat it and see how I like it. But yeah, it came out really, really good. So I would definitely suggest giving this paint a go. It was really easy to work with. Will I use it again? Absolutely. I've got a whole pint here and I try not to waste products. So I am going to go ahead and use this on a small piece in my shop. Try it out. Heck, I might even try using it in my sprayer. I love to brush as well as spray my pieces, and a lot of paints are very versatile that way where you can use them for both. So definitely give this one a look. It's super, super fun. It was very easy. The color choices, they gave me a color card with my paint, and I seem to have misplaced it, so I can't show you guys. However, there was 47 colors. I do remember that, and it was a very nice color range that they had. So I really like that. I love when a paint line has a lot of colors to choose from. So anyway, so you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thank you for being subscribers. Keep subscribing so you can get all of my videos in the future. If you have any questions or positive comments, make sure you leave them down below. I always enjoy getting back to you, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Thank you.